Good morning and welcome to AIADA's AutoTalk. I am Dan Barson, your host for this morning's program. Today's session is the first of our year-end series. Before I introduce today's guest speaker, let's review a few administrative items. First, everybody that registered for today's program will get a copy by early next week, so watch for that in your email. Second of all, today's program will be repeated again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this afternoon. If you have any staff that you feel could benefit from what you're about to hear, please have them join us for the 4 p.m. session. And please stay on the line after today's session for upcoming programming announcements. And finally, if you should have any questions during the program, please feel free and enter those into the bottom right corner of your screen under the Q&A section. This year, we witnessed a number of hurricanes, Irma, Harvey, and in Puerto Rico, Maria. Collectively, these storms destroyed billions in property, and the projections are as many as 1.3 million vehicles plus. Join me in welcoming Mike Platts. He's Partner Development Manager for Carfax. Mike has years of automotive experience, including working retail at a high-volume Pennsylvania store. He's held several positions with a national finance company and currently holds a position with Carfax. Mike, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you very much for having us. Welcome, everyone. Today's topic, we are going to talk about flood vehicles. And basically, as silly as it sounds, we are going to discuss a vehicle's relationship with water for the most part. In more ways than one, as you know, water can be your car's best friend. It keeps it clean, keeps it cool, all those nice things. Unfortunately, water can also be your vehicle's worst enemy. So, as you know, damaging floodwaters can render a valuable automobile worthless in a matter of seconds. So more often than not, these vehicles are reported to insurance agencies, and through an assessment process, the buyer receives compensation to cover losses. While many flood vehicles are then sent to auto recyclers for dismantling, others are branded by state agencies as flood damaged and salvage titles assigned. Now, once they're identified, flood damaged cars can once again enter the sales market, showing up on dealers' lots and in driveways with a for sale sign on them. The truth is, refurbished flood-damaged vehicles can be difficult to identify apart from trusted documentation. Now, while the majority of these refurbished vehicles are sold with full disclosure of the damage, I have a great example 5 miles from where I live. There's a dealer that sells 100-plus brand beautiful, high-line, refurbished, flood-branded vehicles a month, and they do a very, very nice job of it. Full disclosure, everything up front and open, beautiful cars. So it's not to say that, it's a terrible business or all these people are doing something wrong. But that being said, there are also a lot of not so honest companies and individuals who will attempt to profit at the expense of others by withholding information or intentionally hiding a vehicle's history through a process called title washing. Now, whether they simply leave information off the table or deliberately work to erase a car's history, they will attempt to sell the vehicle as if it never went for that little swim. While there is absolutely zero fail-proof technique to avoid financially devastating purchase of misrepresented flood vehicles, steps can be taken to assure that the car you are buying lives up to the seller's promises and all the hype. And that's pretty much what we're going to talk about today. Now, everything I just said so far, I read to you straight from Carfax's website. And we're going to talk a lot about that site in the next 20 minutes or so. It's a great resource for you to walk customers through to, kind of alleviate some of the apprehensions, some of the concerns of, potential flood vehicles. I mean, right now with, previous storms and these 2 recent massive storms in Texas and Florida, it is a topic of conversation. So a lot of the things I'm going to share with you in this next few minutes, I might be reminding you of things that you forgot you knew. We're going to talk about things that you're probably already doing. But what I'm going to suggest you do, what I'm going to hope that this webinar brings to you is, I guess a new level of severity, being more thorough, more mindful of some of the things that you already trained to do. I like to explain this as, I have two kids. I have two young kids. I live in the woods, and, where I live, ticks are a danger. So the kids go outside to play for a few hours. They come in. My wife and I were trained to, by living where we live, we are trained to check the kids for ticks. This is the way it is, the way we live. However, if our local media or our local family doctor suggests that this season is extra bad for ticks, we're trained to check them, but we're going to do it a little more thoroughly. We're going to be a little more mindful, making sure every time, making sure we're very thorough. So that's kind of what I'm suggesting here. It's things that you're already doing, but we want to do it a little more extreme with these two massive storms that recently hit. So what I thought was the best way to approach this webinar is kind of a question and answer. So as the dust settles and the data flows in and we start realizing that the amount of damage that took place, Carfax receives, day in and day out, we receive a ton of questions, whether they're called in, emailed in, you're talking with your local reps that are walking in your stores. We're receiving a ton of questions about how this whole process works. So what I've done here for this webinar is just taken a top of the most commonly asked questions and going to put it into a presentation form for you. And as Dan mentioned earlier, if you come up with any questions throughout this, or there's something you were hoping we cover and we didn't, feel free to submit a question and we'd be happy to take a shot at answering it for you. So first one we're going to talk about here is, when will we start seeing flood vehicles entering the market? And the answer to this question is yesterday, right now. It's happening already, not just from current storms, Harvey and Irma, but previous storms. So we're going to talk a minute about, flood vehicles that are already on the road. But to answer the question, when will we start seeing these vehicles in the marketplace, that we should, increase our level of, caution? Yesterday, already. On a daily basis, wrap your mind around this real quick. On a daily basis, now this is as a whole, not just flood vehicles, but on a daily basis, Carfax will receive over 5 million new records a day. Just to give you an idea of the mass amounts of data we're talking about here. Now, again, that's as a whole, accidents, ownership, service, maintenance, that whole deal, not just flood vehicles, but it's by the thousands as we're conversing right now. So flood cars start being sold in as little as a few weeks after a flood, but continue to hit the market years after. Now, what you want to be mindful of is, especially when it comes to individuals that lack having comprehensive insurance coverage. So you're talking people that have liability-only coverage. Their interest is to get these vehicles cleaned up, get them off their hands for as much money as they possibly can before this information, hits databases like Carfax. So insurance is a big deal. Comprehensive insurance or liability insurance is something that you really want to be mindful of. Next question we get a lot of is, where are the majority of these cars going? Where do you see the most activity for title washing or flood branded vehicles? And if you take a look at the map I have here for you, that number on the map, 325,510, that, forget Harvey, forget Irma, that is the number of flood vehicles in use in the market today, pre these recent two storms. So forget Harvey, forget Irma, there are already 300,000 plus flood vehicles in use on the road today, potentially being traded in, sold privately. So it's already happening. Top 5 states to be on the lookout for if you're buying, selling cars: Texas, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Florida, New York, anything basically you see there in red, just high traffic areas, higher population. Those are the states that are most likely to see excess amounts of these flood vehicles. So 325,000 already in the road, which leads me into my next question. From the last two storms, Texas and Florida, how many vehicles are we looking at being impacted? What's the gauge here? Now, as you could probably imagine, contrary to popular belief, data collection is an extremely difficult business. Consumer perception, a lot of people I talk to, airports, on flights, friends, family, they just think Carfax is some sort of, it's just magic. The data just falls out of the sky. We have secret satellite cameras that just catch everything. The reality is there are people on the street, our people, Carfax people, Texas, Florida, scouring the earth collecting this data. So it doesn't just flow to us, magically or overnight. It's efforts of tons of people that are out there scouring and collecting this information to get on the reports as quickly as possible. Now, that being said, as the numbers are pouring in, as the dust kind of settles, and based on storms of this magnitude in the past, considering the areas of Harvey and Irma, we're estimating a ballpark of 500,000 new flood vehicles from the two storms. Okay, that's in addition to the 325,000 already in use on the road. Okay, now, all of those cars are not going to find their way back to the market. We estimate about half of that. So you're talking, 250,000 cars from these last two storms potentially finding their way back to the market in some way, shape, or form. Adding the additional 325,000 that are already out there, and you're talking about over 500,000 flood-branded vehicles out on the road, potentially being traded in at your dealerships or ones just like it. So just giving you a gauge on how important this is, and just the steps. We're going to talk about again some more best practices on things that you should look for, things you should do to protect yourself. But this should start yesterday. Okay, this should have started a year ago because these cars are already out there. So don't treat Harvey or Irma any different. Just take what you're already doing and drive it to the extreme. So the things you're already trained to do, you're just going to maximize it, be mindful of it, and just a little bit more thorough in all the practices you're already trained to do. Next question is, one thing you will not learn looking at a Carfax report is what are we doing behind the scenes? So what is Carfax doing about this? Fact of the matter is, same as I'm sharing with you as what you should do on your end, the same goes for us. We're doing everything that we've always done, the best we can absolutely do, scouring this earth for vehicle history data. So we're doing what we always have done and aim to do. We're just doing at another level of extreme, more thorough than ever, more mindful than ever. Specific people in Texas, in Florida, working with the local sources in those states, trying to get this information in as much detail as fast as possible to get it on the reports, so that the bad guys can't get rid of these cars before the information hits the reports. I always say the bad guys are very, very good at what they do, so we try to be better. The faster we get the information in your hands, the less likely the bad guys are able to pull one over on the consumer as well as the dealer. So some of the things that we're doing is the first one you see there, consumer education. Again, I told you I opened this webinar up reading that piece right from our website. That came from the website I have there for you. It's carfax.com/flood. Great resource for you to take your customers. Plug in the VIN number, and it will show them whether or not that vehicle has been reported as flood damage to Carfax. Now, my suggestion, utilize this in addition to the Carfax report. It just shows that they're at the right place. They're dealing with the right people. This is where they want to do business. So in addition to sharing with them the full Carfax vehicle history report, you want to take them to carfax.com/flood and just walk them through the process. Recognize that right now flood vehicles are a concern. Unless you're living under a rock, you know about Harvey, you know about Irma, you know that these vehicles re-enter the marketplace. So my suggestion would be bring it up, talk about it, discuss with your customer the things that your dealership is doing to be proactive, recognizing these vehicles. And either, if that's your business, fine, but either selling them with full disclosure or not selling them at all. But I think it's a good idea to acknowledge the existence of this problem right now and put your customer's mind at ease. The data collection, as you can see there, we're working with every resource possible: DMVs, insurance companies, repair shops, the manufacturer. Now, next to OEMs, you'll see flood car example. If you want to jot that VIN number down, take a picture of it, whatever you want to do, that is an example of a current flood vehicle. So you can kind of take a look at, how we're wording it on a report, how it's positioned, what you could be on the lookout for when, appraising and evaluating these vehicles. Finally, that last one you see there, new data alert, which is going to lead me to my next question is, how will Carfax notify the dealers? Okay. So in addition to the information being on the VHR, on the Carfax report, we will continue to send out, so this is something, again, we've already been doing. This is nothing new. We've always sent out new damage, new data alerts. The question is, are you on the distribution list? Are you receiving these alerts? So in addition to running the report, sometimes you run the report at acquisition, you may not run that report again until a customer looks at the vehicle. Now, God forbid, something changed on that report while the vehicle was in your inventory, and you're utilizing a Carfax report from acquisition that says clean. This new damage alert is going to alert you via email. It's a daily basis email, so only if we have something to share with you. We're not going to bombard you with emails every day. But if you have a unit in your inventory that a new piece of data hit today, overnight, you'll receive an email, show up to work the next morning, and be alerted that a vehicle in your inventory has changed. There's now a blemish, there's something on that report. Just gives you the ability to take a more mindful approach, more informed approach on what you want to do with that vehicle. Do you want to reprice it? Do you want to send it to auction? What do you want to do with it? So a much better situation than finding out something changed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because the customer said, can I see your Carfax report? So what are we doing to notify the dealers? The Carfax report. Again, you can run that VIN number I provided you to see what that looks like. The example I have here on this slide is that exact VIN number that I provided you. So that's the header of the report. In addition to that, you'll want to make sure that you are receiving our new data alerts. I provided on this slide the Carfax customer service number. If you are not sure if you're on that, you can either reach out to your rep or call into Carfax directly to find out if that's something that you're already on. It is a distribution list. If you're on it, then you should be receiving new damage alerts as well as open recall alerts. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are signed up to receive those in the event that something changed in your inventory, and we can make sure we're alerting you in a timely fashion. Next question we're getting a lot of is, what can the dealers do to avoid buying flood vehicles and protect themselves? Now, this is the part where I'm going to kind of, remind you of things that you forgot you knew. Okay, step number one, run a Carfax report. Can't say any more simply than that. Make sure you're running vehicle history reports before you buy it, before you sell it, before you price it, before you decide if it's worthy of your dealership, being on your lot and representing your dealership name. So run a vehicle history document. Number two, this is very important. You want to look at the current and previous location of the car. Identify the zip code and match it up with any flood damage zones, any FEMA zones. Make sure that that vehicle wasn't last registered and owned in a FEMA alert zone where a flood took place. So currently where the vehicle is registered, where it's at, and then previously where it was last registered. It can tell you a lot about where the vehicle spent the majority of its life. Number three, conduct the inspection looking for signs of flood damage. Again, these are things you're already trained to do, and I understand that. What we want to do is enhance it, just be a little more on top of it. These next several months, even several years, as these 300,000 plus additional flood vehicles re-enter the market. Things like turning on the ignition, checking all the instrument panel lights, making sure they illuminate, test the interior and exterior lights, air conditioning, windshield wipers, radio, turn signals, and the heater repeatedly, not just once. Do it repeatedly. As you know, look for rust on the interior of the vehicle, seat rails, nuts, bolts, seat belts, stained carpets, or water seeping through seat cushions, especially in the back seat. Water lines, debris in the trunk or engine compartments, and then that nasty, musty smell that the water residue left over, or or should I say this, the odor of, carpet cleaners, deodorizers, sort of a strong odor of that sort of thing. And the last one I have there is something that is very, very overlooked, underutilized tool is the Carfax buyback guarantee. The majority of my time and my role is spent inside dealerships all over the country, and one of my favorite tools that gets underutilized is that Carfax buyback guarantee. You can see a picture of it to the right-hand side there. Buyback guarantee is us backing the title of that vehicle. Okay, so in the event that we should have had that flood brand, we missed it, and the title was washed, whatever the case may be, we potentially could be on the hook for for a buyback situation. We're backing that vehicle up to 110% of retail book value. You would submit that to us through our data correction process, which I will show you at the very end here. Our researchers would dig into it, research the situation, and if your situation falls under the umbrella of the buyback guarantee, we could be looking at a situation where Carfax would purchase that vehicle for up to 110% of retail book value to make it right. The customer or the dealer would be able to get back their investment and reinvest in something else that's obviously not a branded vehicle. That is available on every car in your inventory, aside of ones that naturally have a branded title on the Carfax report. So some of the things that you can do to protect yourself and avoid buying these cars: run the Carfax report, where was the vehicle located, thorough inspection, more so than ever, thorough inspection, and utilize that buyback guarantee with your customers. Again, underutilized and can put them at ease, give them peace of mind, calm down some of those concerns or apprehensions that they may have about the vehicle. You can put their name on it, put your dealership name on it, whatever you feel most comfortable doing, and hand it off to them as a courtesy of the dealership and just something they get through your partnership with Carfax. So that ties nicely into this next question. Is we get a lot from the dealers is how do consumers feel about this? So from the dealer side, you're kind of versed in this stuff. How do the consumers feel? What are their next steps? What are they fearful of? So, and again, it's going to be an enhancement of a lot of the things that they're already doing. Okay, so they naturally always want a reputable dealer. They're going to care about that even more. Reputable dealership, online places where vehicle history reports are included. If your dealership isn't offering a vehicle history report, they're going to move on. Okay, it's just right now, after these storms, it's more important than ever to provide vehicle history on your online listings. So reputable dealership, offering VHR on your online listings. And I always like to throw in there, today's consumer has spent 14 hours online researching, grueling hours, clicking, scrolling, reviewing, deciding what car, what dealer, how much, who do I want to buy from. Then they arrive to the dealership, and sometimes you want to stick them into your process. So what I would also suggest, especially in a time like this, is kind of ask your customer what they've done so far. Give them some credit, give them some merit for all the research, all the time they've put in. Ask them what they know, what they're interested in, and then simply ask them what do they want to do next. Kind of pick up where they left off. Kind of puts them a little more at ease in showing up to your dealership and just being shoved right into your sales process. Ask them, admire, give them some credit for what they've already done. Ask them what they'd like to do next. Kind of pick up where they left off, and also utilize some of these best practices I'm sharing with you today. They're going to be looking for a thorough test drive, a very, very thorough walk around. So, brush up on your walk around skills. Maybe touch on some of those areas I talked about earlier. The rust spots, nuts, bolts, under the hood, inside the trunk, back seats, seat belts. Again, acknowledge the storms, acknowledge the excess of flood vehicles in the market today, and just let your customers know, listen, we're on top of it. We're mindful of it. So we're doing more thorough inspections than ever because of these two storms and the 300,000+ cars that are going to be entering the market. Just kind of put them at ease, letting them know that you're doing your part. You're doing your due diligence. You can feel comfortable, considering this purchase with you and your dealership. Again, walk them through our free flood damage check, carfax.com/flood, and obviously show them the full Carfax report. Trust the mechanic, whether it's their own or whether it's one at your dealership. They're going to want a trusted, certified mechanic to inspect the vehicle. They're also going to be very wary of pushy sales, quick sales, or where there's title discrepancies or alterations. So again, I think the easiest way to approach this is acknowledge it. Just let them know, hey, we listen to the media as well. We're on top of this stuff. This is how we're changing our practices right now, or our business model to adjust to these massive storms and these cars that are re-entering the marketplace. So again, all the things that they're already doing, their anxiety, their apprehensions are going to be at an all-time high. The last thing I have here for you is the data research request. So in the event you want us to research a potential buyback situation or anything for that matter, clerical error, the odometer is wrong. Ownership. They leased the car, then they bought it out, tagging them as a second owner. This is not limited to, our topic today. Your data research process, you can submit to us anything that you're questioning on the Carfax report. You would go to, as you can see on the screen here, carfaxonline.com. That's your dealer account. Log in. Under the Resources tab, there will be a link that says Data Research Request. Click on that link. Next screen will take you here. 5-step process. Literally takes you 2 to 3 minutes. Give us the VIN number. Tell us the record that you're questioning. There'll be a little box there for you to type in what the problem is. It'll ask you who you are, who we should contact. Hit submit. That goes to our data team, and they're on it immediately. So anytime you're questioning any of this stuff, don't just settle for it. I hear dealers say all the time, oh, it was just a minor thing. I'm able to sell around it, or I can explain that. Let us fix it. Let us fix it. It increases the value of the vehicle, the consumer's confidence in the dealership and in Carfax, their confidence in your asking price, just their confidence overall. So that data research process is not limited to branded titles. It's for anything you would like us to research. That, I believe, takes us toward the conclusion of our webinar today. Again, happy to answer any questions. I do see one popped in the bottom right-hand corner here. Somebody is asking if the buyback guarantee is limited to branded titles. And that's a good question. I'm not sure if I touched on it when I brought it up or not, but it is not. I'm sorry, it is limited to branded titles. So when you're looking at the buyback guarantee, it covers if Carfax misses a branded title: fire, flood, theft, lemon law, hail damage, not actual mileage, reconstruction. We are not guaranteeing accidents, ownership, service, that sort of thing. Branded title specific. So if you were to pull up a buyback guarantee and look at the very front of it, black and white, across the middle of it, it shows you exactly what it's covering. So please do not tell your customers that if Carfax missed an accident, they're buying it back. Strictly limited to branded titles. That's the only question I see on there. Happy to answer them if you have any for us. But that being said, I'd like to pass this back to Dan to close it up.
Well, Mike, thanks a lot for great information and an outstanding presentation. If anybody on the call today has any questions, please feel free and shoot them Mike's way or send them to us, and we'll make sure he gets them. So again, Mike, thanks a lot for joining us today. That was great information. Please join us on November the 7th when we'll have our next Auto Talk with Dale Pollack, founder of vAuto. Dale will be addressing the 4 key areas of current operational inefficiency that minimize margin compression. On December the 19th, we'll have Tom Contos, Senior Vice President, Chief Economist for CAR. We're going to have Jonathan Smoke, Chief Economist for Cox Automotive, and David Lim, Chief Auto Analyst for Wells Fargo. They'll all be on to share with us their 2017 market observations and trends and what they think we can look forward to in 2018. So they'll give us a peek into their projections for 2018. Wanted to bring you up to date on several issues in Washington, D.C. The administration right now is renegotiating NAFTA, that agreement, and looking at that very carefully. AIADA, along with the auto manufacturers and parts suppliers, have joined together to form Driving American Jobs. It's a coalition in an effort to prevent the U.S. from totally withdrawing from NAFTA. For more information on this NAFTA negotiation and the PR campaign that's about ready to launch, please go to www.drivingamericanjobs.com or on Twitter at @DrivingUSAJobs. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you November the 7th. Again, that program will be with Dale Pollack. That'll be a morning program only. We'll have a recording for the afternoon session. Thank you very much. Great selling. Bye-bye.